Yeah. Okay, so I think
Thank you,
we can start.
Dan. And one of the things I would like, yeah, we can start. And I will ask you to introduce yourself
All
and
right.
yeah, proceed with the presentation. I'm very
Okay.
happy to see you here on LinkedIn to give us a presentation on the Gestalt Principles. I don't know whether I'm pronouncing it properly. One
Correct.
of the things I can tell you is it's you who I heard it from for the first time.
Okay.
And I was impressed by the principles in it. And it's very interesting that you are also willing to share with us what it means and its applicability in different fields. And you can start by introducing yourself, Dan.
Okay. Thank you so much, Fasil. It's a great pleasure for me to have this session. Um, Four is already a big crowd, because one person can do a lot. So, Abenet and Nebiu, I'm happy you are here with us. I think I met Abenet in one of the sessions. So, I remember the name, one of the online sessions. So great to have you. Let me just say that Ethiopia is one of the countries I love. I've done a couple of assignments for the UN, and I spent some time in Hawassa doing field work. So I also had master student mates, Asifa and then Bate, who were my mates. So anytime I have to do something with Ethiopia, I have very good memories. So let me just introduce myself, and I'm going to use the screen. So let me see. Oh, yeah. Okay. So I graduated from the Organization and System Program, which is IOSD, in 2004. It was a 1.5 year program. That's where my initial learnings from Gestalt started. And I had 5 sessions. The program is organized in 5 sessions. So I did Italy, South Africa, Canada, Netherlands, and graduated in Ireland. Then after that, after practicing for about 6, 7 years, I had the opportunity to study again at the Gestalt Institute of Cleveland in Ohio, USA. That was also a 9-month program, in and off, on and off. And there I specialized in facilitating large systems, that is from 30 upwards. So that if you have 100 people, how do you, for example, facilitate? So I did that in 2010. And then after that, these programs are quite expensive. So together with some colleagues, we decided that we will try and make it more accessible to the African continent. So we set up at the OD Center here in Ghana, we set up the Organization Development Practitioner Program. We ran it for about 10 years, and then we discontinued. I have also lectured organization development at the university where I'm teaching. At the business school, I was teaching MBA strategic management. And currently, I'm a professor at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, and also visiting professor at WITS in South Africa. And I sit on a number of boards, including ActionAid Ghana and then the West African Network for Peace Building. So let's go straight into the content of Gestalt. When we say Gestalt, it's a German word, which means either a whole, a form, or a pattern. And in psychology, Gestalt refers to the concept that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. That's a very interesting concept. So when we talk about Gestalt, we're talking about wholeness. We are talking about things taking shape or taking form or observing particular patterns. And later we'll look at its applications in facilitation. But for example, if you are facilitating a group of 30, you, from the Gestalt principle or perspective, you are interested in the whole group, but you are also interested in the individuals and subgroups. And then in facilitation, you look at patterns. What are the patterns? If you have a group of 30, what are the patterns that are forming? Are the males only speaking? Are the females quiet? Are there some people who are very vocal? Are people from one organization congregating at one table every day? So you notice patterns. So Gestalt allows you to apply it in the facilitation field. And we will look at that specifically at the end of the presentation. Let's look a bit at the origins of Gestalt. As you can imagine, it's a German word, and the origin started with psychologists at the University of Berlin, specifically Max Wertheimer, Wolfgang Köhler, and Kurt Koffka. They were researching into virtual perception. The idea was that they were trying to see how human beings perceive. If I look at an object, what do I see? And they theorized that when people see things, they organize, group, and connect them into meaningful parts. In other words, what they say is that people always strive to arrive at wholeness. So, for example, if I do this, in your mind, you see, oh, okay, maybe I'm writing an S. And even though I don't finish it, your mind would want to bring completion to that process of drawing this. And so you will conclude by adding the bottom part. And that is the whole essence of Gestalt. And this gave rise to the statement, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Then we have other people who are associated with Gestalt, like Kurt Lewin, who was a social psychologist. And in his research, what he tried to do was to incorporate the idea of Gestalt into leadership, group diversity, organizations, and then social change. So for instance, if you have a group that you are facilitating, you'll be interested in, are there any leadership issues? How diverse is the group? And what does the group want in terms of facilitation? Then we have also Fritz Perls, who was a Gestalt therapist, Laura Perls, and others. And they focus their attention on the principles and strategies of intervening, that is, bringing about change in couples, pairs, and small social systems, especially families. So there are people who are specialized in using Gestalt for example, therapy, for counseling, for diversity and inclusion, and for marriage counseling, for example. And we shall see later how this is possible. Let me move on. And then we have Edwin Nevis. Edwin Nevis, unfortunately, passed about 7 years ago. He was one of my teachers when I did my OD program 20 years ago. And then Elaine Kepner and others. I never met Elaine, but I always heard Edwin Nevis talking about her. They focused attention on the use of Gestalt in organizations. So Faisal, for example, in your organization, you can use Gestalt principles to bring about change. to be able to um, get people to adopt the children that you are talking about and all of that. And then they founded the Cleveland approach to Gestalt theory. In fact, the school I attended, they originated it in Cleveland, Ohio. And so they took the idea of Gestalt from psychotherapy, from psychology, from family and counseling and to small groups and took it into bigger organizations. Then others are Mary Ann Rainey and Jono Hanafin. In fact, I teach with both of them in the current program, in the current Gestalt program. Our next session is going to be in Budapest in September. We normally do, like I did, 5 sessions over 1.5 years. And so we had the first session in the Netherlands. We're going to do the second session in Budapest. And Mary Ann and Jono Hanafin are the co-chairs. So they focused attention on capacity development, that is, using Gestalt as a way of training people to be able to function effectively in organizations. And that, I must say, has been the basis of most of the consulting work that I do with from individuals to organizations. Then let's have a look at Gestalt OD or OSD. It's an approach to organizational consulting developed in 1977 at the Gestalt Institute in Cleveland, where I studied about 15 years ago. And then it was pioneered by Richard Wallen, who was at the Case Western Reserve University. And I'm sure many of you who have heard about appreciative inquiry was developed in this university. And Mary Ann, with whom I teach, was one of the PhD students who started this whole process. So Gestalt OSD represents an integration of Gestalt principles, that is one, organization development, and general systems theory. So when you do Gestalt OSD, you get the Gestalt principles, you get OT, and you know, I have taught on programs that are masters in organization development. So you get Gestalt principles, organization development, and then general systems theory. So we combine these three, and that is why, in my opinion, Gestalt offers a very good opportunity for practitioners like us. And then Mary Parker Follett is normally, when you read Gestalt theory, she's credited to be the one who was first to use Gestalt in organizations, the work of consulting in organizations. So she is more or less the mother of Gestalt practice in organizations. So now let's look at some of the principles. And what I'm going to do, like I said, a whole Gestalt program is 1.5 years of 10 days per experience, 7 working days. But I'm trying to put all of this together in the next 45 minutes or so. So I'm going to look at some key Gestalt principles, which I think are important for us in our facilitation work that we do. The first one is called the cycle of experience. When you do our Gestalt program, you learn about a cycle of experience. And it is simply a model, a descriptive model, which we use to track need satisfaction. And when we say need satisfaction, let's say, Faisal, your people, your organization wants to satisfy its need of getting sponsors to pick the children. So that's your need. So I can come to your organization and use Gestalt to help you satisfy that need. And it is a cycle which is made up of what we call sensation, awareness, energy, action, contact, closure, and withdrawal. Now, what does this mean? All it means is that these are naturally occurring processes. And if you train yourself well, you can use this, you can track this cycle and use it as a consultant to bring great change. Let's say, for example, I'm asleep. I'm trying to use the sensation up to withdrawal. I'm asleep, my air condition is on, and I have a sensation. The sensation is that I feel cold. Okay? So that's step number one. Then I try to find out why. Have I not covered myself properly? Or is the window open? Or is the air conditioner at 21 instead of 25? So I become aware. That's stage number two. I become aware that maybe it's the air conditioner that is at 21 instead of the usual 25 that I put it. Then what do? I mobilize energy. That's the third step. I mobilize energy, get out of my bed, and go to the air condition and either switch it off or increase it to 24. And that is the action that I take. So once I mobilize the energy enables me to take action. And the action is either walking to the air conditioner, and then I make contact with the air conditioner. And the contact is holding the switch and turning it off or turning it to 25. Now, when I do that, I bring that whole process to closure. And the process is that I crawl back into my bed and cover myself and sleep. And that is withdrawal. I withdraw from that action. Now I go back to either snoring or enjoying my sleep. So that's the cycle of experience. And I'm sure in another time or another opportunity, we can explore that. It's so exciting. By using this naturally occurring here and now phenomena to track even organizations. I've done assignments where people are simply even not aware that there's a problem. And our job is to heighten awareness so that they can resolve issues. So that's one big concept of Gestalt. Then some aspects of the cycle, for example, action. Action is the phase of the cycle where energy is mobilized, and then there's a movement towards fulfilling a need, desire, or goal. So in my sleep and air condition case, the action is that I get out of bed and move towards the air condition, which I have become aware is the source of the problem. So let's look at others. Then there's a concept we call awareness. And this is the phase in the cycle where gestalts, or that is patterns. Remember, we define gestalt as form, patterns, and other figures form after sensing, okay, scanning and data collection. So in my case, I sensed that I was feeling cold. I scanned to see whether the window was open or I hadn't put on my duvet or the air condition was too cold. So I was scanning. And after collecting the data, I came to the conclusion that it was the air conditioning. So we use awareness as one of the key tools of Gestalt to be able to bring about change. The interesting thing about awareness is that one can be consciously or unconsciously aware. So in many instances, we can have examples like, look, I've driven past this area for 5 years. I didn't know that, or I didn't notice, I didn't become aware that there was this beautiful tree here. Meanwhile, I've been driving for 5 years. I never noticed it. It was in your awareness, but you were not conscious about it. And what we as Gestalt practitioners do is to try and raise awareness and bring things into people's attention. So, for example, we'll say, as you drive to work, it is important to focus on the road and how you drive and other drivers. But notice what you pass by, the buildings, the trees, the shacks, the different kinds of people you meet. When you become aware, you sharpen your skills to be able to intervene. Then we have what we call closure. Closure is the phase of the cycle of experience that supports the natural tendency for experiences to finish and be complete. Do you know that many of us, we are restless because we haven't brought closure to certain things that happened in our lives? Sometimes it could be institutions that we worked for. We left without bringing closure. And once a while, it comes to our memory and we feel restless. Or it could have been a rift we had with a colleague or a relative or a friend, and we haven't sat down to resolve the issue. Anytime you see that person, your blood pressure goes up or you begin to get palpitations. It's simply because you have not brought an end to that experience and taking advantage of what that experience brings to you. So Gestalt says that closure is very, very important in everything that we do. And there's a way of doing closure. The next is contact. We say that in Gestalt principles, we say that it is the place of change, transformation, shift, and insight. In other words, if I use myself as an organism and the environment, there is always a contact between myself and the environment. And it is at that contact that transformational things happen. So in Gestalt principle, we try to train people to make sure they have contact. You can be facilitating, but not having contact with the people you are facilitating. You might be just going through the motions. Sometimes you see that you are teaching or you are facilitating and people are absent-minded. It's simply because there is no contact. And sometimes a way of bringing contact, I use it very often. Sometimes I tell a joke. And normally when you come to Ghana, they will tell you, I'm a Fanti. The Fantis, we are very good at jokes. We can make you laugh. We have humor. So I use that. And sometimes it's okay, no, let me tell you a story about how I started teaching. And then you see that everybody becomes alive in the classroom. And so we say that contact has taken place. Then we have what we call intervention. And normally in Gestalt language, you hear people say, well, I did an intervention and then I was successful. So interventions are normally processes of interrupting a system, usually for the sake of heightening awareness by noticing, clarifying content, selecting a target level of system, executing the interruption, and noticing the impact of the interruption on the system. Now, this is very, very crucial, and I'm going to give you examples. I was once facilitating a team, and I used just noticing as an intervention. As the system went on, I just noticed that some people, even though we were using English, will occasionally change to their local dialect and discuss for some minutes and come back and speak English. So I didn't attack them. I didn't say use English. I just said, group, I notice that apart from English, some people are using other languages which we haven't agreed upon in this group. And then everybody sat up. And immediately from that time onwards, nobody spoke side languages again. So you just notice. Or you can heighten awareness by clarifying content. Group, we are working on this. I can say Abenet and Nebiu Fasil, we have just 45 minutes. Would you want us to go a little bit beyond 45 minutes? It's clarifying the content. Do you want me to talk about any other thing? So that is also intervention. And then selecting a target level of system. Remember, I said that Gestalt only uses systems theory, and there are different levels of system. the one-person system, the two-person system, the triad, the subgroup, the group, the up to global level. So I can decide that I can address you as a group of 3, or I can decide that I want to use a dyad. And the dyad is a two-person system. So I will say, Abenet and Nebiu, I noticed that ever since we started, you have not spoken. Or I'll say, Nebiu, would you want to say something about the process so far? That means I've targeted either a one-person system or a two-person system. Or I can do a triad. A triad is Fasil, Abenet, and Nebiu. Would you want us to do this again? So that's how we do interventions. And normally when you are facilitating, sometimes you have to intervene at the level of a table, okay? You may have, let's say, 10 tables of 5 people each. You have 50 people. And you notice that one table is particularly maybe loud. And so you can intervene by saying, table 6, would you mind how you talk so that you don't interrupt the work of others? So that is an intervention. And the whole idea is that you want to make sure, as we all know, facilitation is supporting systems to achieve the objectives that they have set themselves. So we use interventions to heighten awareness and to bring whatever system we are dealing with to become much more effective. The next 2 we'll talk about, I think these are the last 2, and then we'll go specifically into application in facilitation, because I want to stay quite close to 45 minutes. Multiple realities. It's something that, as you can agree with me, as facilitators, we have to be aware of multiple realities. That whatever group we meet, even the 3 of you or the 4 of us, we have multiple realities. I'm from Ghana. You might be from different parts of Ethiopia. You might be working in different organizations. So our individual perceptions and realities, by virtue of our different, let me say, upbringings, the needs and experiences, they are all different. And one of the things that the Gestalt practitioner does is to bring multiple realities into an integral part of the system you are dealing with. And that's why we say that no 2 people can have the same idea. And as a father of twins, my twins are 32 years old. As a father of twins, very identical, but I say even the identical twins, they are not the same. They are, maybe their DNA and other things might be similar, but they are different. Their pitches, their voices are the same, but one has a higher pitch than the other. And these are multiple realities we bring into facilitation. Then this, I think this is the last one. It's so, so important. We call it the paradoxical theory of change. So what it says is that change begins not by attending to a future state of what might be, but by attending to the present state of what is now. Should have been an O. What is now? And we believe that the future can happen when the present is embraced. It should be embraced. And I'm sure when you look at the equivalent in project management, we say that you always have to do analysis. For example, in M&E, we have the ex-ante evaluation where we look at what is now. Even though we are planning a 10-year project, we start with what is now. What are the goals and objectives we want to achieve in 10 years? If you don't start now and look at the present, you cannot be in the future. And that's why either you're doing individual consulting or coaching, we always say, what is it that we have now? And how can we work with that? The last one is what I will dwell on, presence. Presence, what we do as Gestalt practitioners is that we use our presence to support learning and change in others and systems. And for me, I think this is very crucial. If you are facilitating, you are using yourself, your skills, and everything. And when we say presence, we are talking about what is created by integrating all the elements of yourself. It includes affection, perception, cognition, your behavior. I mean, even the way you smile, the way you talk to people. And all of these can be used to maintain a developmental partnership. In other words, if you have a pleasant personality, once you stand in front of people to facilitate, people connect with you easily, and it makes your work much less difficult. Presence begins with how the practitioner shows up. So your values, your beliefs, the way you dress will evoke certain things in participants. Imagine standing in front of people and maybe your zip is not closed as a man. I mean, all of a sudden, nobody's going to hear what you are going to say. They will focus their attention on your zip that is not closed. So even your dressing is part of your presence. So with our presence, we seek to provide what is missing in the client system and model what is possible. And we say that presence is intentional. That's why some people say dress to kill. When people dress, sometimes they want to have a certain effect. You're going for an interview, you won't take the same dressing as if you are going for lectures. You make sure you are intentional in choosing the suit you wear, the skirt you wear, the shoes you wear. You make sure that it matches so that when you go, your presence will tell a story. And as facilitators, presence is very, very important. Just by showing up, the kind of emotions that you evoke in others can either facilitate the work that you are doing or not facilitate it. You don't necessarily have to be charismatic like our former president, late Jerry Rawlings, who was so dramatic, but you can be quiet, you can be, unassuming, but still have presence. So let me now go to facilitation. And two key principles useful for facilitation are what I have just said, presence and use of self. And you would agree with me that facilitation is about using ourselves, the skills, the experiences, the interactions that we have to bring about a group or to support a group to be able to achieve its objectives. So we say that presence and use of self are two of the very crucial principles of Gestalt, which we can use in our facilitation processes. And we say that even though presence is not manufactured, for example, if I'm short, I'm short. If I'm 5 feet, I can't go and acquire 1 foot more and become 6 feet, but you can cultivate presence. And this is where, as facilitators, I would want to emphasize you can cultivate your presence so that as you stand or sit to facilitate people, you can have impact. They see you and immediately they have confidence that you can really facilitate this group. And cultivating presence, my brother and sisters, my sister and brothers, it requires a commitment to lifelong learning and development. We never stop. That's why, for example, last year I went to Uganda. I said, I want to learn from IAF. I want to meet other people. And thank God I met Fasil and other wonderful people. So it's a lifelong commitment to learning and development. Sisi, thank you for joining. Welcome. So let's look at 6 elements of cultivating presence. I think this will help us. And I think I have a few slides and we'll be finishing. And this is by Talbot and Hanafin. Mary Ann Talbot and Hanafin, as I mentioned, were my teachers. They were my mentors, and I teach with them now on the Gestalt program. I'm going to meet them in September in Budapest. So they said there are 6 elements of cultivating presence. 1, continue to work unresolved issues and unfinished business. If you really want to develop yourself, like I said, look at unfinished business, whether it was with your former job, with your spouse, with your children, with the teacher at your child's school. Sometimes it might have happened that you had an exchange and you have not resolved it. You have to resolve it. Unresolved issues of power, authority, intimacy, and inclusion distort the relationship between client and practitioner. Number 2, we need to commit time and energy to active reflection. One of the things that I teach in our leadership program here in Ghana is understanding self. And I have designed something I call TAD, 10 a day, 10 a day, TAD, TAD. And all I'm saying is that every normal human being should have at least 10 minutes every day where you set aside everything and reflect. Reflect on the day, reflect on what you're going to do tomorrow, reflect on your future, reflect on the actions that you need to take. So it's something that I have developed, and very soon I'm writing a copyright paper on it. So what we are saying is that we need to make sure that we understand what is happening to us. So, for example, I can ask myself, how come I've been teaching at the university for 30 years and I still don't have maybe a good car to drive? Or how is it that I've been married for 20 years and I still see my wife as a stranger? Or how is it that my kids, I've given them all, but they don't seem to like the affection I give them? So active reflection. And whenever you reflect, it gives you sufficient grounds to do better. So in our facilitation, one of the things that we can do is to reflect on how can I be an effective facilitator? How can I get people along once I stand in front to facilitate? What are the things that I need to do to make sure that people will just enjoy my facilitation skills? Number 3, actively seeking feedback from colleagues, clients, and friends. One of the things that we do if you want to be a good professional is to ask the right people for feedback. And sometimes you ask people, when you see me, I mean, I'm sure some of you who are with me on LinkedIn, there was a time I asked my past students, I've been teaching at the university for more than 30 years. So I said, can you give me a feel? How did you feel when I taught you as a student? And I got over 300 responses. Very interesting. So seek feedback from colleagues, friends, and then clients. Number 4 is live life fully. Now, what this means is that create a rich ground of experience of all kinds. The principle is that the richer the field of experience, the more you have to draw on. So if I've visited, let's say, 60 countries, I have much more cultural experience, which I can draw on and improve my professional skills. So, and we say that personal development is professional development. Sometimes I've met organizations that are talking about how we need to learn how to do strategic plans and all that. And I say, how have you helped the individual people who are going to design the strategic plan to develop themselves? So many times when we go into organizations, we tell them, no matter the big things that you want to do, start with your people. Make sure that people live life fully. Be interested in their life, be interested in their families, be interested in their career progression and all of that. If you do that, the organization will grow without much stress. Then the fifth element is investing in a broad world view. If you only sitting in Ghana and you don't even know Togo or Nigeria or any other place, then your experience is limited. You need to keep yourself abreast with world developments. And this provides you a fertile context and enhance the opportunity to connect with people and issues. So one of the things that I do, I have many friends I have met just traveling, maybe traveling at the airport, and then I start a conversation. Um, One, for example, is, and I'm using Ethiopia because I'm talking to you. It's a lady in Addis. 9 years ago, we met on a flight. She was serving one of your favorite dishes, and I tasted and I said, oh, this is very nice. Can you give me an extra one? And she was so excited. So I'll bring you an extra one and all of that. And we have become friends since then. She invited me to her wedding. She now has 2 kids. She still works for Ethiopian Airlines. So I I increase my view. I'm very happy to be connected to Faisal, and I want to learn, get to know many more people. The people I met last year in Uganda, I still communicate with about 7 of them, sometimes on a weekly basis. We exchange WhatsApps. I've sent connections to people, opportunities for master's studies, and all of that. You increase your worldview, and that allows you to be a much better professional. And finally, you have to experiment with new ways of being, um, because generally the familiar can be comforting and numbing. If you are so familiar with certain things, sometimes it's boring. So experience new things, take a different route going home, order a new entree when you go to a restaurant, do something different. For example, we have a small garden. We have 2 plots, 100 by 130. Our house is on one, and we have one that is green. We decided we're leaving it green and we are growing. And this year, I had so much avocados that I had to take them to church to give freely 10, 20. I just call people, my neighborhood, everybody got it. It's exciting. It increases the experimenting with new ways of life. I had oranges. Now I can make my own orange juice with no additives. I had a lot of, now is the maize season, have a lot of green corn. If you are around, we could boil some and eat. And it makes life very, very exciting. 2 months ago, I added poultry, chicken. And as I speak to you now, I've got a hen that has hatched 8 chickens. I'm very excited. It seems very small, but it tells you, it expands your mind. You watch the hen and how it deals with the chicken. It feeds them, it makes a sound, they come and eat, but at a certain time, it sucks them. When they come, it pecks at them because it's telling them you are grown enough. Go out and make your own living. And no longer will they walk with the mother hen. All of these are very interesting life experiences, which you can transform into the organization. And I'm coming to a close very soon. Let's look at um, the techniques that we can use for self, which are also very, very useful in the things that we do. So this will be the last thing we are going to look at, and then we will finish. So I'm going to talk about skills and abilities of presence. We have emphasized that as facilitators, our presence is what we use to be effective facilitators. So what are some of the skills and abilities we need to develop to become better facilitators? There are about 10 or 12 of them. One, we have to tolerate confusion and ambiguity without rushing to organize it, allowing something to emerge naturally rather than forcing it. So sometimes when you are facilitating, we are scared that there will be confusion. We want everything to go so well. But you should also be open. When there's confusion, watch the system and see how the system resolves itself. We have to train ourselves to have that skill. Number two, we need to train ourselves to be able to separate data from interpretation, data and meaning making. What is the data? I saw somebody shake the head. Don't say that, why are you saying no? Because when I do this, I might be saying yes. And I'm sure you are aware in the Indian context, when they do this, they are saying yes. But in Ghana, when you say this, is no. So you stay with the data. I see you shaking your head. Can you tell me what that means? And that makes you non-judgmental, and it helps you to be a proper intervener. The next thing is to be able to state things succinctly, clearly, and directly. The shorter, the better. And normally, a friend of mine will say, use the case principle. Keep it simple and short. Once you use the case principle, you are able to get your ideas across without problems. Number four, seek and be respectful of where the client is at all times, scanning for clues and asking when unsure. And when we are facilitating, we need to be constantly checking. Is the group with you, or they have checked out? Are people's minds in the room? There are times when people's minds are not in the room because either their accommodation is not good, or the lighting system in the room is not good, or the place is too hot. If you see people fanning themselves when you are facilitating, don't ignore. Notice it and bring it out for attention. And then attending, observing, and selectively sharing observations of what is seen, held, heard, felt, and so forth. So we train our level of awareness. And as I said in the earlier slides, make comments on what you observe. You will be surprised that that will hold the key to what you are doing. There's a very interesting case of a friend of mine. Interestingly, he's also called Inkoom. He spells his Inkoom, Nkum. He was working in an organization, and he had been there for 3 days. He went the fourth day, and he just sensed that anytime he got to that reception, he got a headache. And so he voiced it. He said, "Sir, anytime I come to this place, I get a headache." And the man was surprised. So I said, "Do you know something? The amount of money we spend on our health bills is killing us." And so by making just that observation that he gets a headache anytime he comes to the place, he was able to unravel why people were getting sick. And they were able to identify that the atmosphere was toxic and people were not feeling fine in the organization. And that led to a different thing. He had been called in to do strategic planning. Eventually, they had to do, how to relate to people and all of that. The next thing is to attend to one's own experience of feelings, sensations, and thoughts, and selectively sharing them. In some models, they say that the facilitator has to be neutral. You don't have to. And in Gestalt, we say you cannot be because you are a human being. And what you need to do is to bring yourself into the system and be honest and say, well, this is the third day of the workshop. I don't feel happy because we are not making progress. It's a feeling. And when you bring it out, perhaps you can get attention and people will say, okay, then we're going to cooperate with you more. And hopefully you can get the fourth and the fifth days going better. So we don't say that you are neutral. We say bring yourself. And when you have trained yourself in such a way that you are, let me say, a compact whole, then you can use yourself to bring about change. Then being aware of one's intentions at any moment, being clear about the priorities of the work. There is a difference between intention and intervention. And many times we see it in government. Government intends to do this, but their interventions are different. And these have to be aligned. So the intention is very, very important. The instruments you use are also important. The next one that we have to train on is to learn how to focus on what is most interesting to the client, being aware of how it emerges and for which there is excitement, and then you can support a client to do that. And as facilitators, it's always good to make connections with others and helping others to do the same, modeling and showing people how they can work together. And then not being afraid of letting things go and being in control. Finally, appreciating the quality of good breathing and body centering to support yourself and other is so important. Keeping your health, making sure that you are in a good physical state so that you can be of help to others. Then stating observations in a way that can be heard and considered. So finally, let me come to a conclusion. The conclusion I'll come to is that Gestalt principles enable the practitioner to use self in the service of others, especially in facilitation. So, gentlemen and lady, thank you for listening. And this is my contact. I would love to hear from you. As I said, this is a 1.5 year program. I've tried to crash it into 50 minutes or so, and I hope that you enjoyed it. So I'm open to questions. Faisal.
Well, thank you very much, Dan. It really is impressing, and there is a lot of learning in it. And I was trying to see if I could keep on capturing some of the points, but I was afraid that I might miss the level and the depth of the information you have shared with us. And I really appreciate. And one of the things I learned is that we should do more of these things, especially on the Gestalt principles. And there is a lot of information. It's not only for facilitation, it can be applied in a variety of fields, like in project management. I could see in leadership and in many other fields as well. And I really appreciate and thank you. And I will open the floor for questions. And it's only the three of us. Abednet, if you have any question, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you, Basil, for organizing and uh, and also for, I don't know, I think I prefer to call you by your first name,
Dan,
Professor.
yes. Dan is fine.
Uh, yeah, really, it is. I share what Facilitate packed with so many, you know, key, I don't know, insight might not describe it well. I'm really keen to know more about this approach because I see you also mentioned its importance in family, in supporting families. You used, I think, in several instances as being a therapy tool. I don't know how that can be. I mean, maybe you just gave us a highlights, not difficult to, 1.5 year program. I know, I understand. So my question, you said you were about to give us an example on how to use it in a family setting. Maybe if you have time to share in that, but more, what's the next step? I really want to know more because in what I do, I see several, possibilities that I can use, adopt this tool as a coach, as a leadership, organizational development, capacity building, professional. I see its relevance. So if I, if I want to get certification and things like that, what are the next steps? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Avanet. And once again, I'm so excited that we could get this opportunity, even though we are not many, but it takes just one person to change things. What we do is that we run introduction to OD, Gestalt OD programs. They are normally 1 week programs, which will give you, of course, 1 week will give you much more insight. I can give you the contact, and so that we can follow up on that. And then you can do the full program. The next available one is starting 2026 because we are in the 5th program. We are yet to do Budapest session 2, then session 3 will be in Singapore, and then we will do, I think, Ireland, and then the graduation. So that is full, but the next program will be will be in 2027. But also there is what we call Gestalt Africa, and 2 of my colleagues who are faculty on the international program are running it. And I can link you up to that also. So there are several possibilities: the 1 week intro, the Gestalt Africa program, and the iGold program. And my email and WhatsApp are here. Once you send me a note, I can send it directly to you, and then you can see the possibilities. Great.
Yeah, thank you, Dan.
Welcome.
Really a great opportunity to get to know you. And one of the things I aspire to have is that such frameworks, such learnings be available in Africa. And we have different institutions here in Ethiopia. And we will try to reach out if they can adopt the Gestalt principles. And in our next session, we will have the socio drama from India, from our with Dr. Murali from India.
Okay.
And these are things we need to bring to it. I would aspire to bring to Ethiopia, whereby there are so many huge institutions, government and non-governmental. They can adopt them, they can use them. And our chapter, the Ethiopian IF chapter, as well as I'm a member in the PMI Ethiopia chapter. And Abnet is a coach, and she can adopt this to the coaching world. And these are things I would be very happy to discuss with colleagues here in Ethiopia and in our LinkedIn community. And I don't think I have to keep you anymore. Thank you so very much.
You're welcome.
Dan, we'll keep in touch.
Let's
And
do so.
I'm not sure whether I will go to Tanzania this year.
Yeah. Oh, Abanet, are you coming?
No, unfortunately, there is no flight
Oh,
on the 3rd, anyways, due to several logistics. Yeah,
yeah.
I'll be
Okay.
missing it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, we
I
can
just
stay
wanted
in
to say,
touch.
yeah, thank you. I see
You're
many
welcome.
missed this opportunity of getting introduced about this principle. I was surprised,
Yeah.
yeah, by the number of attendance, but as you said, it does not really that much. Yeah.
Yeah. So you are now the apostles. You can
Sure.
spread it.
We will
Yeah.
spread the word. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
All right.
Thank you so very much, Dan.
You're welcome.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.
Have a nice weekend.
Bye. Bye.
Thanks, you
Bye.
too.
Thanks.